London. Right. You've seen the violence, the arguments, the injustices of 12th century life over the course of a day. However, it's easy to forget there wasn't just grim knights in battered armour, living in castles, fighting wars. These were people trying to live society, trying to live a normal, peaceful life. War could be profitable for some. Peace was better for all. More importantly, in 1193, Richard was a good, pious Christian king. He showed his piety generally by killing people, but he believed in the natural order and peace and prosperity for good Christians, such as those living within his lands. As such, the law system that had existed before the Norman conquest of 1066, that was absorbed and used by the Normans, has kept the peace and tried to treat people fairly, to protect them. Richard himself instituted a number of reforms, laws, and most importantly, a strong system of justices, royal judges who would travel throughout the land, holding court and issuing judgment. It could be months between any location seeing a sheriff or a justice. Often half a year in some more rural locations. So often only the most serious cases would wait until a sheriff or a justice was in the area to solve it, to resolve it. The point is, however, the justice was appointed by the king himself. This was almost as good as King Richard sitting judgment over your own case. His word was final. His knowledge of the law, next to none. Better than none. Better than, yeah.
Don't know, so Richard, how are you feeling today?
We'll see how it goes. Note also, it's a common courtroom. You have a clerk of the court recording it. Bureaucracy was one of the great loves of the Normans. These wonderful warlike people were obsessed with writing down lists, tedious social records, censuses. The first official census of Britain is often considered the Doomsday Survey in the 1080s. There was always a clerk to record the judgments, so if someone claimed or felt they were truly harshly, unfairly treated, the records could be consulted. The clerk was impeccable, just wrote down what happened. He had no judgment. Also note, guards. The bailiff of the court deals with the plaintiffs and defendants, but several armed and prepared men, because things could get out of hand. While they were trying to live peacefully, the 12th century was still violent. Also note, all these people here, they're not a jury. Most of them aren't involved with the court. They're rubberneckers. This was a good social event. You could have a day out. If you're lucky, you might see a man condemned to death. You might see a man have his tongue cut out. You might see a man ask for a drink of water. It was an affair where people from miles around would gather, sometimes out of curiosity, sometimes hoping for justice, sometimes just trying to stir up trouble. Either way, give me the Shire Court.
People of Whittington! Justice has arrived on your doorstep once again. My name is Sir William de Lacy, the Baron of York. I have been appointed by our good King Richard to travel to Shropshire this month to try the cases of the Shire Courts. I'm aware that it has been many months since a royal justice was present here, and thus I am expecting a considerable backlog, because looking around you today, I can well believe that this Whittington is a nest of criminals and other unpleasant persons. Sir Tancred, you have the list of cases, I believe.
Aye, my lord. First case is a border dispute between two knights.
Stand here. Very well, the border dispute. It's common enough fare, I suppose. You, Sir Knight, what is your name and where do you hold your lands?
Sir Anselm of Tartu. Sir Anselm.
Sir Anselm of Tartu.
Anselm of Tartu. And where does Tartu lie?
Near Chester, my lord.
Near Chester, my lord.
In Chester. Most of your lands are in Chester, you claim lands in Shropshire. I take it this is one of your smaller estates then?
Yes, my lord. Yes, my lord.
And you, Sir Knight?
I'm Sir John Delaware, my lord.
Your lands are?
In Shropshire, my lord.
All of your lands are in Shropshire, I see. Would one of you care to explain why you have brought this dispute in front of a court? You both seem like reasonable men to me.
The river that separates our borders has moved after the last rain. It has moved a considerable distance from his land into mine.
I understand him. So it rained heavily and the river has changed its course. Well, we've all seen this before. Which one of you is now claiming that the lands where the river used to be should now be his?
I am, my lord. Clearly swear on the charter, those lands are now mine. Lands go up to the river.
And you're disputing this, are you, I take it?
Yes.
Well, do we have the charters in the courtroom present? I believe we do. Let's actually read them here. It clearly says here, and yet on both copies, the border of your lands is marked as the river. However, the river has moved, and I will not see a man unfairly cheated of his lands by a heavy rain. Nor will I deny, however, your rights to this land are spelled out under the Charter. There is, I feel, room for compromise here. You shall take possession of these lands that have been uncovered by the river. You shall take them into your manor. However, you must pay a relief fee upon them. I shall set this fee at the sum of 3 pence per ploughshare. 2 of those pence to be paid to the man who has lost his lands through the rains. 1 pence shall be paid to the court as a fee for involving us in what should have been a peacefully settled local dispute.
Oh, it's not my fault.
I do not care, it was not your fault. The river has moved. Therefore, according to the Charter, the lands will become yours. Be satisfied with that. Clerk, mark that man's name down with the addendum that if he is to be seen in court again and it shows disrespect, he is to be brought up on a charge of contempt of the court. Sir Richard.
Land disputes were the bread and butter of the 12th century court. The vast majority of the records we have are border disputes along these lines. Land was money. In many ways, it was inseparable. A knight's worth was measured in how much land he had. So people were often looking for ways to gain more. Some men would move a border stone or claim it was a different tree to the one in the Charter. In this case, no one has been particularly malicious. Natural order of things. The rain has come, the river has changed course, and someone's gained land while someone has lost. It may seem tedious, but it's an essential piece of arbitration. This is why the justices roamed around. Small wars could have started over plots of land being disputed. And frankly, price Sir William imposed was very cheap indeed. Everyone should be happy. One man gained land, one man gained some small coin enough.
So that's the Tancred. Do we have another case?
Aye, my lord. A charge has been brought forth of 3 men armed at midnight looking suspicious at the graveyard.
Get down on your knees.
Well, they say they look suspicious to me. But I'm somewhat confused here. What is the charge exactly?
I'm not sure, my lord. I think looking suspicious.
I recognise you from the last time I was here. You're Bennett, aren't you? The night watchman here.
Yes, my lord.
Well, what happened? Explain what happened. What are you charging these men with?
I was doing my rounds, keeping watch over the village, and I saw these men in the graveyard of St. Stephen's at night, at the hour of midnight. All of them bearing arms. There was a poleaxe involved, my lord.
And?
They must have been up to something, my lord.
That's it? That's all you... You, what is your name and condition?
I'm Benjamin of Prestoon, a freeman.
And you?
I'm Alexander of Southampton, my lord, and a sergeant of free man.
And you?
I'm Ivor of Richmond, my lord, and also a free man.
They're all free men. What have you actually arrested them for doing?
Midnight in a graveyard, my lord, with a poleaxe.
I agree, it's as suspicious as all hell. We can't charge people with being suspicious, you imbecile. Good God, I don't remember you being this stupid last time. Of course they were up to something. They are in a graveyard with a poleaxe at midnight. But I can't charge them with that. I need to know what it was they were doing. You simple-minded cretin! You have gone and allowed... I have to let these men go now! You understand that? Dear God! They are going to go out now and commit whatever crime they were going to do so before you so heroically dragged them in here and charged them with looking shifty in a public place! Listen to me, you three. I am forced to let you go. Do not thank me before you hear me out. I'm going to let you go because there is no actual evidence or charge against you. However, I am marking each of your faces, and the clerk is marking your names. And if I ever see you in this court again, it shall be remembered that you were in a graveyard with a poleaxe in the middle of the night. Now get out of here before I change my mind!
Thank you, my lord.
You stand right there! Thanks to your able ministrations, those 3 ruffians have been set loose again. How long have you been the night watchman here?
2.5 years, my lord.
2.5 years. Surely long enough to know that to charge a criminal, you have to charge him with a crime! For your wanton stupidity, I am removing you from the position of the night watchman and the income it contains, and I will further fine you the sum of 3.5 shillings for wasting this court's time. Get out! Hand over your badge of office. Get out!
Soft-hearted, aren't you? As Sir William delicately and calmly explained, Bennett had been somewhat over-enthusiastic there. These courts were a system of justice, of keeping the peace, of keeping everyone happy. And as much as there was corruption and issues going wrong, the principle of the court was that no man could be charged or imprisoned or punished without A, evidence, and B, actually having a crime to commit. All three men are free men. They're not held in servitude, not indentured. And free men in the 12th century in England are entitled to carry weapons and tools of their trade. Hammers, axes, knives, and in some cases swords and spears. And at night, it's dangerous. Especially on the road. In the graveyard, perhaps less so. However, while three men of, judging by their accents, very different locations, meeting together with weaponry in a graveyard at night, yeah, something's probably going on. You cannot hold them on, charge them on suspicion of something a bit iffy. In fact, I think William put it best during that frothing mouth rage. But now they're probably free to go and do whatever it was they were doing. Frustratingly, these men are free, but the law could not touch them because they had not committed any crime. It cannot be proved they were intending to, merely that they were in a place carrying items they were entitled to carry, in a place they're entitled to be.
Very well. Sir Tancred, do we have an actual crime for the next case?
I wish I could tell you yes. The next case, my lord, the locals have been saying things about some form of baby-eating giants.
This is a joke, Tancred. It's a very poor taste.
Genuinely been told that there has
You
been
expect me to believe that we are seriously charging? What on earth is that?
apparently baby-eating giants.
You! Right, come on, let's get... What is your name? What is your name?
Я вас не понимаю. Что вам надо?
Кто вы? I'm aware it's not English. It's not French, Latin or Greek either. Right. Listen to me, listen. Have you been eating the... This is ridiculous. Is there anybody here who can speak for this man?
I am of this man, please. He is a good Christian, and because he is a foreigner, the locals are scared of him.
I can't believe I'm about to ask this. Is there any chance that this man has been eating children?
No, Lord, he has not.
Very well, thank you. Right. It's fairly obvious what's going on here, isn't it? Listen up to me, people of Whittington. I know that there have been soldiers stationed as a garrison in this castle. I know that where soldiers go, also comes gambling, comes drinking, and comes interacting with the local women. I understand you do not like mercenaries. However, for you to have dragged this poor, simple-minded man in front of me, has anybody actually come forward and specifically stated that their child has been eaten?
No.
No, I didn't think so. Are there any cases of any actual children going missing in this village?
No.
Listen to me, people of Whittington. This is a court of law. When I sit here in judgment, I sit with all the powers of the king. I am the right hand of King Richard himself. This is not to be a place where farces like this are brought. However, seeing as this is a place of law, and the charge which you have brought is so heinous, I must give credence that there is the possibility of its truth. This man shall be taken into the centre of your village tomorrow at noon. A boy shall then come from the families of the town. He shall be given a sling and a single stone, similar to the one which David slew the Philistine Goliath with. If this boy is capable of killing our terrifying giant here with a single stone, then it is the will of the Lord, and he has been judged guilty and most foul. On the other hand, if the boy misses or fails to kill the giant, the will of God is equally clear, and this farce shall be forgotten about. If no boy comes forward from your village, I shall assume that the charge has been withdrawn. Bear in mind, if a boy does come forward and fails, the village shall be heavily fined for wasting the time of a royal justice. Is that clear?
Yes, my lord.
Very well, take him away. I cannot believe I have had to do this. Don't write that down.
Come on, you keep it together.
Please take him out of the courtroom. He just stood there.
It's been a very long day. Yes. Rural folk were simple folk. We all know rumours and whispers can become malicious sometimes. A stranger from a strange land comes in with his strange ways. People can start whispering, and who knows? Things get out of hand and accusations are thrown about. Clearly, the accusations got so exaggerated about this particular foreign soldier that he had to be brought before the court. Fortunately, the knights, the lords, and urban folk were far better travelled, far more reasonable. They knew that such things were very unlikely to happen. Lord William in particular has been to Jerusalem and back. He has crossed Europe. He has seen people, so different cultures and languages, he couldn't even begin to count them on his fingers. Remaining fingers.
Oh, I didn't quite lose it. Sicilian mist.
He knows, he's encountered these rumours before, and he knows how to deal with it. If he just lets the man go, the whispers will continue, this nonsense will carry on, and he'll have to deal with it again when he comes back. So, he's opted for something many justices did in unusual cases, ones that weren't handled completely on the laws. He opted for a trial by ordeal. The idea is that if the man has committed this heinous crime, God will guide the stone from the villager's sling and slay the wicked, just as David slew Goliath. However, being a man of reason, William knows this is very unlikely. He covers his own back because it turns out that the man speaking foreign tongues has been stealing and eating children. He's dead. Brilliant. Job done. If, however, he's innocent and these rumours are just wasting everyone's time, the village itself needs to be made an example of. Lord William has the power and authority to level such heavy fines on a village, it will vanish. There are records of entire villages and some townships disappearing. Sometimes they've been burned to the ground by raids. Sometimes they've been destroyed to teach people a lesson. Sometimes the people have been fined for their criminal activity so much the place has been abandoned and the ground virtually useless. It might seem heavy-handed, but this will dissuade anyone for a couple of generations at least, hopefully, from making such ludicrous accusations.
Go on then, Sir Tancred. What do we have next? Pray tell me. A dragon making strange marks in the crops, perhaps? Anything else?
No, my lord, a riot between Whittington and Ellesmere.
Oh, a good old-fashioned riot. Excellent. Bring them in.
Come here! Come here!
On! Separate
Get down! On your knees! Get off him.
Right, Sir Tancred. What happened and what sparked off this, foul riot?
I believe, my lord, it was a football match.
I might have known. Football is the bane of this country. So, you've been having a football match, have we? A nice excuse for 20 or 30 or 40 people from your village to rampage through the countryside with your knives and with your axes and hammers and beat the stuffing from each other's. Tell me, did you even bother with a ball this time?
Remember this
Silence! Good God, if you thought that was a real question, you're in more trouble than I even thought you were. I'm going to give you one chance to escape punishment here. You, the men of Ellesmere, is it?
Yes, my lord.
Point to your ringleader.
So, my lord.
Right, come here! Get off him! Get off him!
Right. Well, there were two people pointing at him, but he threw the first punch. The one in the grey blue, take him to the stocks.
No, my lord!
Have him whipped for contempt of
No,
court
my lord!
later.
I was just defending myself, my lord.
The one in orange, let him go, he didn't throw any punches.
Knees.
Now, men of Whittington, you've seen what happens when you act in a civilised manner and when you decide to start a fight. I give you the same chance. Point to your ringleader. There we go, that's much nicer, isn't it? You two may go. Get him out of here, go on. Right, bring these two closer to me. That'll do for him, that'll do. Right. You men, the fighter, what's your name? Mallory of what, my lord?
Mallory of Ellesmere, my lord.
Mallory of Ellesmere. And you?
Edric of Whittington, my lord.
Well, at least you can speak. So, when did this football game occur then? Easter Sunday! It was! Be assured punishment will be dealt to them. You dare! You dare profane the day upon which the Son of God himself rose from his grave, rose to redeem our sins. You dare take this holy day and use it to commit acts of violence?
Scoundrels!
Shame!
Very well then! As you have had such fun with your sport, I shall have a little sport of my own. Your punishment, look at me. Your punishment will be to be taken to the stocks, where you shall spend 3 days and 3 nights, one for each of the days in which our Lord was dead after his sufferings on the cross. But to make things more sporting for our good people of Ellesmere and Whittington, you, Mallory of Ellesmere, will be taken to the stocks in Whittington.
Justice.
And you will be taken to the stocks in Ellesmere. Yes, not so keen on your little rivalry now, are we? I have been merciful. I could have ordered your deaths here and now for incitement to riot. I am giving you a chance, however small, to survive the dung throwings, the stonings, and the beatings which you will now so richly have reaped. Take them away.
On your feet, now!
Justice.
I must apologise for the intrusion.
It's quite all right. The church has every right to be incensed at this foul behaviour.
Football has long been a British passion, an obsession. It's something that, when you get home from a long day at work, of the lords, of the landowners, they cause significant damage to the property. They stopped people working. It's a Sunday they could rarely work anyway, but they're using this energy they should be using for feeding themselves, for working, for producing. They're using it for recreation and fun. That's not very good. It's not very productive. The idea is that fun, useless. But the severity of this crime comes on the insult to a holy day. Members of a pair of local cloisters, a good sister and a good brother of the Cistercians. Clergy could become furious at any sort of impiety. They tolerated kings trying to take control of the church, archbishops being murdered, lords deciding they don't really need to be that good at Christians, they can pay their way out of it. The clergy were desperately trying to keep pious, good Christian behaviour in place. And in a case such as this, their anger, although wrath is one of the 7 deadly sins, rightly earned.
Very well, what is the next case to Tancred?
The next case, my lord, is slightly more awkward. We had a bit of a case of Baron running down.
Very well. Forward the Baron. Ah, Brother Griffith.
Hello, sir. I'm sorry to have to bring myself before you.
Ah, well, enter his name, Griffith de Beaumont. How's your sister, by the way?
I'm fine, thank you. Your brother as well?
Oh, yes, he's quite well. Had a bout of illness last week, but he seems to be more or less over it.
Glad to hear it.
Anyway, who's bringing this case then? Who's bringing this case? Ah, your name is?
Hi, my lord. I am Sir Ewan ap Iago of Conway.
A Welshman.
Lord William, a Welsh knight and afforded the same rights and protections underneath the law.
Yes.
Thank you, my lord.
Mark it down, a Welsh knight. Very well then. Griffith, do you want to start to explain what actually happened?
Well, I was riding through the lands, and as a serf leaped out, his eyes closed, and fell underneath my horse.
That's certainly not! My husband was a good man! A saint against God! He was a good man!
Say you then. Would you like to explain what just happened to us there?
That is the wife of the man who was killed, my lord.
I see.
She seems to think she has some right to be here, but...
Right, well, it's out of the way now then. Griffith, you've run down a man. I hear it was intentional. Intentional or not, you have deprived Sir Ewan of a productive part of his estate.
Right. And the price of the serf must be recompensed, I assume.
Yes, that sounds you.
Perhaps a little more to take than from the court.
Very well.
If you remember, my lord, I must now pay the upkeep for the man's wife as well.
Yes. Here we go. This should more than recompense you for a lost serf, Sir Ewan. Also, maybe buy yourself some lessons in catching verses.
Thank you, my lord.
Very well, Griffith. I hope you'll be more careful next time. We can't keep having incidents like this. Go on. Have a pleasant day to you.
The ideal of the courts was incorruptible. The law was incorruptible. Unfortunately, when the law is administered by a network of nobles who are mostly related to each other, there may be one or two cases of nepotism, some corruption, some contempt for other human life. However,
the man would have probably died anyway. He saw what he was escaping from.
Society was divided into many social strata, and it can get quite complicated. However, below the nobility, there were the free men, as mentioned earlier, the ones who were entitled to carry weapons, to own and work land. These people were free to do what they willed. There was another layer beneath them, the serfs, the unfree. These people were bound to the service of their lords, bound to work the land legally. They weren't slaves, no. The Pope had decreed no Christians could ever be held as slaves. That was depriving them of their freedom, of their sanctity of life. And so, these men weren't slaves, the serfs? No, because we call them serfs, see? They're not slaves because they're called serfs. And, yeah, that's the difference.
We're allowed to buy and sell, is it now?
No, they come tied with the plots of land you buy and sell.
Precisely.
And some farm machinery. And a horse. And a wagon.
Sir Richard, I take exception to that. Horses are noble and fine beasts.
As you may have gathered, there could be a certain amount of contempt for serfs, for, while they were people, they were little more than property. And as far as the nobles here were concerned, this was simply a matter of damaged property. The serf had been run down, he'd been broken. Productivity had therefore been lost and must be compensated. And as Sir Ewan pointed out, he was bound and obliged to support the man's widow. Because it works both ways. While the serf is indentured to the lord is also obliged to, at the very least, house and feed his workers. It could be a beneficial system if the lord was not cruel, corrupt, prone to violence, willing to look the other way if it was his cousin, and, yeah, it didn't work out very well for the serfs. Oh well, moving on.
Very well. Do we have anything else today?
That's it, my lord.
Very well, people of Whittington. The criminals amongst you have seen justice delivered to them. Apart from those three in the graveyard, who we'll probably deal with later. Let this be a lesson to you. The judgment of the King's law knows every man in England. The King's law protects the King's people. This is how it has been in England since the days of the Anglo-Saxon kings of the House of Cerdic. This is how it has been since the conquest. when William of Normandy and my own great-grandfather, Ilbert de Lacy, crossed the sea and freed England from the yoke of the tyrant and usurper Harold Godwinson.
Quiet, you.
This is how it has been for centuries. It is how it will continue. Ladies and gentlemen, the laws that you've seen in place today, some of them are very similar to the laws we have in England today. Others are very, very different and come from a different way of life and way of looking at the world. We hope now that you'll be able to see some of the similarities and differences and understand why they came about a little more. The legal system that was in place in the Middle Ages is the direct ancestor of modern British and Commonwealth law. The common law that had come down from the Saxons, mixed with the royal laws of the Normans, formed the legal network and framework that created English society. Thank you very much for standing and watching through some of these cases. They have been extensively researched and either represent actual cases that are recorded in the rolls by clerks, such as Rufus here, or they represent generic cases of the type that were common meat and drink for Shire Courts in this period. If you have any questions at all about what you've seen, if you want to talk to us and ask them, or look at any of the equipment you've seen on display today, please feel free to come and talk to us. Having said that, we have been the Shire Court of Historia Normannis, and we thank you for watching.